Here's a look at the scene in Baltimore, Maryland tonight. There has been chaos and violence in the streets for several hours. Rioters storming certain parts of the city in the west, looting stores, setting buildings and cars on fire. Baltimore's mayor has just announced a curfew saying, quote, thugs are trying to tear down the city and incite violence. Maryland's governor has declared a state of emergency and activated the National Guard. For hours, there was a measured response from law enforcement, riot police standing guard as the chaos continued around them. Several police cars were lit on fire, as well as a major pharmacy. 15 police officers have been injured in the clashes as rioters pelted them with bricks and bottles. The violence erupted after a funeral was held today for 25-year-old Freddie Gray. He died a week ago after being severely injured in police custody. Joining us now by phone from Baltimore is the CBC's Paul Hunter. And Paul, describe for us where you are and what's happening there.
It's messed up, Ian. I mean, we've just left Freddie Gray's neighborhood where we have spent the past half hour. That's the area where all this is happening, where Freddie Gray was arrested earlier this month and where the riots have been, the violence has been happening all afternoon. So as we approached the neighborhood, you're passing like people with shopping carts full of stuff that clearly, to me, had come from places like the CVS. We saw an ATM that had been ripped out of the wall and left sort of in a shambles on the sidewalk. The closer in we got, the more sort of police in riot gear you started to see. And it was like, what you're thinking is this is a major city in the 21st century in America, and it's such a cliche to say it feels like a war zone and all that stuff, but man, that's what it was like. It's like your hands start to get kind of sweating. You're thinking, how do we get out of here? It is a messed up neighborhood. We've been in that neighborhood a couple of years ago in the middle of the day, and we were told to get out for our own safety. This is a badass city to begin with. This is not Ferguson. This is not the other places where we've seen. This is bad to begin with, and people are kind of freaked out about what is going to happen here tonight. Down the street from where we were when we were standing until about 10 minutes ago when the police left and we thought we'd better get out of there because the sun is just about to set, about a block and a half from where we were standing. I look down, and you see looting going on. You see people going into like sort of sidewalk, street front stores, going in through busted windows and coming out with stuff. And then flashing lights down one end of the street, police in riot gear down the other end, making arrests in front of us. I'm telling you, it's like I've not seen anything like this in this country before.
Except, of course, people in Baltimore have seen it before. Those old enough, they talk about the 1960s, 68, I believe, when they saw those riots, and they're hoping it doesn't turn into another situation like that. Is there any way for you, and I know you've just arrived, but any way for you to get a sense of what might unfold, at least where you are, over the next few hours?
Yeah, not only had exactly, and there were riots in Washington, and they've seen what happened in Ferguson, and in New York, and in South Carolina just this year, and people are angry, right? And at the funeral today for Freddie Gray, the pastor gets up to the podium and he basically says, we will not rest until there is justice. No justice, no justice, no justice. He's shouting as if to say, get up, stand up, get out there and do something. So right now, and as I speak, it's getting darker and darker, not to sound too ominous, but it is kind of freaky. Right now, they've got a curfew on the streets in Baltimore. They're saying don't go out on the streets. So, on the one hand, better safe than sorry, right? Take precautions. They're not saying evacuate the city, but they are saying stay inside. When we're in Freddie Gray's neighborhood 15 minutes ago, I went to the police officer and said, pointed at the flashing lights a couple of blocks north, and I said, can we go up there? Is that okay? And he just kind of laughed and he said, I would not advise it.
Paul, so much of this reminds me of 1992 in Los Angeles. Like phrase after phrase you give is very much what happened then. And take care because, as you say, this is a city that can be pretty volatile even in normal times, and we're not sure what's going to happen tonight. Paul Hunter, live on the phone from Baltimore this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's talk to another reporter in Baltimore, also on the phone. Erica Green is with the Baltimore Sun. And Erica, as I understand it, you're back, I think, in your newsroom now. But what did you see earlier today?
First of all, thank you for having me. I was out on the ground when this kind of all started, and it started with a posting that went around social media where students were planning a 3 p.m. quote-unquote purge, which is a reference to a movie that is about, one 24-hour period of lawlessness. And the students were to meet at a mall, the Mondawmin Mall in West Baltimore, and they did. And from there, it just escalated really quickly. The crowd swelled. There were, as many police officers as there were students, and students began, throwing bricks, glass, anything that they could pick up, and it just really, it escalated very, very, very quickly. The students were not in any way fearful of the police. The police had shields, and that was pretty much all they were using to protect themselves. The confrontation spilled over into neighborhoods where, police officers eventually started throwing bricks back. I saw a, bloodied police officer being carried by his comrades, and it transpired so quickly where kids and police were facing off, and people in the neighborhood started to come, out into the streets as well to engage in this, and from there it really did move kind of down blocks. The more police pushed them away, the further they went into downtown, and really the group that started at Mondawmin has just grown and spread into what we're seeing now.
We're speaking to Erica Green, a reporter with the Baltimore Sun. And Erica, we have less than a minute, but I do want to ask you this. We don't want to be melodramatic. We don't want to make things sound more ominous than they are. But I do want to tap into your knowledge as somebody from Baltimore, as a journalist. What's your expectation for tonight?
The police cannot make it to as many scenes and as many incidents need their attention. It is dark. This started in broad daylight. I just don't see how it's going to end at night.
Erica Green, thank you very much for speaking with us. Erica, a Baltimore Sun reporter in the city of Baltimore tonight.